to the start of selection. Now let's come to the start of selection event. This start of selection event, as suggested by the name, is for selection. So if you want to put a selection on the database tables, you would do your code after the start of selection event. So start of selection is generally one event which you would find always in any program of ABAP. It is mandatory to write start of selection if you want to do anything like select queries, and also you should actually write start of selection and end of selection. So anything between them is used for selecting the data from the database tables, and then processing on that can be done after end of selection. uh, so what I'm doing right now is I'll just do a write statement for 100 times. So I'm just doing do 100 times the right statement. So this will give me an output on not on the selection screen but on the output screen for 100 times the start of selection. This writes. So if I want to do anything, I want to select anything and do a print on the screen on the basis of that, doing manipulation on the selected data, I can do it in start of selection. And end of selection also. So fetch the data from start of selection and uh, do the manipulation or the business logic after end of selection. Now let's just see a couple of more events. There's something called top of page and there's something called end of page. So top of page is like once you have your output, once you have your write statement, you have written start of selection, or you have your output in front of you. You want something like this. As you can see here, I have written top. So this top can be changed. You might want to have a heading sort of thing for your output, or whatever you want. So anything that you want to be there on the top of the page should come in top of the page event. So and this event is an implicit event which is called every time when you have your output page. Okay. So but this doesn't clear the doubt. So for that matter, let's just write the just a second. I would write something called line count. This line count defines that on a page I want only 25 lines. Okay, so after 25 lines, there's the start of a new page. This will clear your doubt of the page settings. So let's see how it comes up. Once I have just 25, so fate. So now you can see that after 25 statements of start of selection, I have another page starting. So you can see on your right of the screen you have page 1, 2, 3. These countings can come, and then on every top you have top. So you can see it a top over here, a top on top. So on every top of the page you would have. So if you want any heading that should come after every top of the page, you can actually do it in top of the page. So if you have a top of the page, you also should have an end of the page. That means on every end of the page, you would want to write something. Now the end of the page has a tricky part. The end of the page is not called till the time you specify the holder for end of the page. It is not just that you have mentioned end of the page and it would be called. So if I just write end of the page and write end, I would not see end written on the page till now. So on top I have the top, but at the end I don't have end written. That means event is called, but the placeholder is not there. So the placeholder we define at the top wherever you have written report. So you would say line count 25 and then let's say 2. This defines that I have a second page holder. There has to be two page holders for both the events, one for top of the page and one for end of the page. So you have top of the page and now. So on every page you would have these two events. Okay, so having said that, there's only one event which I think we have not discussed, and that is the start the add selection screen. Let's just discuss a little bit about this also. I missed the sequence, but that's okay. Add selection screen event is one event which is called after the selection screen. So we discussed Selection screen output is one event which is called right before your screen is popped up in front of you. That means if you want any property to be changed of any field, you would do the code of loop at screen and changing the property of the screen in at selection screen output event. So similarly, if you want to put some search helps, manually, if you want to put anything that you want to come programmatically uh, by default on the page, so you would do an selection screen output. But what if you want to put a check on a field? You want to put a condition that you have a selection screen now, but you want to put some validation on a field, that this field is a mandatory field, so it needs to have something, or if not filled, if let's say you want to restrict some field for two values a or b, you would want to put a check for it, that if the person has filled a or b. So those sort of checks that you want to put right after your selection screen, I mean, you want that selection screen should not go out, and it should be there, and these checks needs to be performed. So you would do on at selection screen event. So I'm just putting a check. If p first is not initial, please enter something. Type error message. Now since I've written not equals to initial, this means that if it is initial, the system should allow it to go. If it is not, the system should throw an error message. So let's just run it. I am activating it. Oops, it gives me an error. Oh, I have not written the end if today. So let's just go and write quickly. And end if. Yeah, end if is missing. Oh, end if. And now if I activate it, let's just see. I am removing everything. So it is initial. So it should go. Right? Our condition was if it is not initial, then throw an error message. So now let's enter something and then see. There we go. So you see the error message. That means if you want to put any such validations, you would put in here. And you see that there is these brackets also. This gives you, the cursor would be at the place where the error message has come, because you have done it for that field only. So I think